Welcome back to Strange Connections. Tonight is going to be a special presentation of the smoking gun on Atlantis. I'm going to lay out for you tonight. I'm going to show you. I've got 3 people that have actually seen the sunken island. It's under the water. I mean, come on. I mean, what else do you need? None of these other people that have written all these books have produced anyone that's seen the island. All they found is a piece of dead seaweed, a rock, some sort of artifact maybe. Right now, under the island, under the water, where I'm saying Atlantis is, there are buildings that have been seen by 3 different witnesses. Okay, I'm gonna give you these witnesses' testimony right now. Please understand the difference between what I'm saying and what you've been hearing from other people. Okay, I hope you guys are sick of listening to, it really kind of hurts the truth when you keep hearing. It's like the guy that yelled wolf all the time, wolf, 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 wolf. Pretty soon when the wolf actually came and somebody yelled wolf, what happened? They didn't believe him, right? That's what happens. You got all these people that, oh, it's over here, it's over here. No, this is where it is, right here. And I've already laid out the background information, and now I'm going to give you 3 witnesses that have actually seen the island under the water, and it's still there. Okay, witness number 1. We begin with Lemnos Island tour guide Costas Canitas, who has seen part of the sunken island of Atlantis about 800 meters east of Plaka, Lemnos. But he did not know what he was looking at. All right, let's insert the video of Costas right now.
We have 2 ports. We have this one, which is called Myrina, and we have Mudros. Also, there is a site that I'd like to mention, it's my favorite, on the northern part of Plaka. There is an ancient town under the water. If you go with a boat in a clear day with no wind, you can physically see it, but you can dive there, and it's fantastic.
Okay, witness number 2, second witness. An amateur this is from Wikipedia, okay? This is a little written dialogue about this guy. An amateur underwater archaeologist claimed to have rediscovered the island in 1960, identifying it with a sunken landmass known as Keros Bank, a 10 square mile area near the island of Lemnos, listed on British naval charts and located about 40 feet, which is 12 meters below the surface. White building blocks, presumably from Apollo's temple, were said to be visible on the sea floor. The Keros Bank is mentioned by others as a possible site, but there does not appear to have been further work on it. He just left it lie there. Okay, that's the second witness. He didn't know what he was seeing, but that is Atlantis Island. This is all of the first presentation I gave you established Atlantis Island in this location between Troy and Lemnos Island. That's where it was located. Okay, witness number 3. Homer, Pausanias, and the Greeks called it Chryse Island. In the southern part of the Vriocastro Peninsula, at a distance of 800 meters from the coast and east of the shoal Vina, Ruins of a sunken ancient city were found, examined by Professor Moutsopoulos in 1969. He spotted a block of buildings with walls up to 2 meters, monolith lintels, and stone-paved roads. The complex is similar to the prehistoric settlement Policini. The ruins were first described in 1785 by some French name, who identified with the Homeric island of Chryse. Obviously, in the past, there was land to the east of the Plaka Peninsula, which was either united with the mainland by a narrow panhandle or was a separate island. On this stretch of land was probably located the city of Chryse of the Homeric period. He's saying it's sunk in 197 BC. Its ruins now visible in the depths of the sea. So we have these 3 witnesses that have all actually seen the buildings that are under the water. And I've already laid out all the information. The Bay of Troy was there, and it's no longer there. It's filled in by the subsidence of the island, just like Plato said. There's no more Bay of Troy. It fits with what Plato said. It was located at the entry of the sea. I mean, everything that he says fits the island, the location. And now we have 3 people saying that they've seen it under the water. Come on. How about somebody else getting involved, and let's find this place and let's get the ball rolling, huh? Come on. Okay, friends. Now we're gonna regress for a moment. We're gonna quickly review some of the facts. The first 3 facts that establish the location of Atlantis. We went over this on the first video, but I'm gonna do it again. Patriarch Poseidon named it the Atlantic Island. Plato wrote this. The Greeks called it Chryse Island. This is from Homer and Pausanias, both called it Chryse Island. Ezekiel and some of the other prophets wrote about it and called it Tyrus Island. And in 365 BC, Socrates told Plato the story of the island, and Plato wrote the story and changed the spelling of the name from Atlantic, IC, which is what Poseidon named it, to Atlantis, IS. And I think it's because nouns ending in S in Greek are considered masculine. I mean, that was hard to figure out, you know what I mean? Plato writes in his dialogues of Timaeus and Critias, the men of Atlantis had subjected the parts of Libya within the columns of Heracles as far as Egypt and Europe as far as Tyrrhenia. This implies Atlantis was located somewhere in the Mediterranean region. Okay, so we know that it was located somewhere in the Mediterranean. Okay, fact number 2. He continues, it was an island situated in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Heracles. For this sea, which is within the straits of Heracles, is only a harbor having a narrow entrance. Okay, let's stop right there. A harbor, a small harbor, was inside the straits of Heracles. Now, we don't know the Straits of Heracles. We're not real sure if that would be the Gibraltar Straits or the Dardanelles Straits. We don't know. But there was a harbor inside the straits. So whichever one of these 2 straits has the harbor, that's the one, okay? Webster's defines straits as a narrow waterway connecting 2 large bodies of water. In the Mediterranean, there are 2 locations that qualify as straits. The Atlantic Ocean connects to the Mediterranean Sea via the Gibraltar Straits. The Black Sea, Marmara Sea, connects to the Aegean Sea via the Dardanelles Straits. These are the only 2 straits connecting large bodies of water in the Mediterranean in 365 BC. So the possible location of Atlantis is now down to 2 places. That's it. Okay? So looking at what Plato was telling us, that this island was located in front of the straits, there's only 2 straits, so it has to be in front of one of these 2. All right, the third fact. For this sea, which was within the Straits of Heracles, is only a harbor having a narrow entrance, but that other is a real sea. One of the 2 straits contained a harbor with a narrow entrance. The Gibraltar Straits has no record of a harbor within the straits. However, Homer's Iliad in 800 BC records that there was a harbor at Troy within the Dardanelles Straits. There it is. Okay? This fits exactly what Plato is saying. A harbor within the straits. All right, Iliad, chapter 1, line 487 says, "Help the Trojan cause, trap them round the bay." This is from the Iliad, written by Homer. Okay, Iliad, chapter 14, verse 42. "They had hauled their vessels inland, row on row, while the whole shoreline filled in the bay's gaping mouth, enclosed by the jaws of the two jutting headlands." So the bay's gaping mouth is again referring to the Bay of Troy, or the bay at Troy. Okay, in chapter 13, line 24, "From Samos Island, 3 great strides he, Poseidon, took. On the 4th he reached his goal, Ag Port, where his famous halls are built." So Homer, the Iliad was kind of a poetic book, and he's poetically calling Poseidon a god and saying he's sitting on top of an island watching the Trojan War go on. And then he stood up and he took 3 great steps, and he was on the 3rd step, he reached his goal, Ag Port. In the Iliad, chapter 1, verse 462 says, "One girl, Chryse, the fiery-eyed Achaeans ferry out in a fast, trim ship to Chryse Island, laden with presents for the god." So the Greeks called this island that was between the Dardanelles Straits and Lemnos, they called it Chryse Island. It's obvious. Okay? Now, what about this bay at Troy? We have supporting evidence that there was a bay at Troy. This is from Dr. John C. Kraft, PhD, who is an archaeologist. He has been studying the ancient coastlines of the eastern Mediterranean Sea for more than 2 decades and has concluded that there was a great bay adjacent to Troy during the Trojan War, circa 1250 BC. Dr. Kraft writes in the February 2003 issue of journal Geology, which is published by the Geological Society of America, that the area's sedimentology and geomorphology do indeed complement the features described in Homer's Iliad. The reality of Homer's description of place, event, and topography correlated with geologic investigation helps show that the Iliad is not just a legend but regularly consistent with paleogeographic reconstruction. That's a tongue twister. Okay, concluded the research team. The members of the team included George Rapp of the University of Minnesota, Ilhan Kayan of Edge University in Izmir, Turkey, and classical scholar John V. Luce of Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. Using borings to determine the geomorphic environment, the researchers were able to develop maps of the changing coastline and found that the landscape at the time of the Homeric account of the Trojan War does indeed match descriptions in the Iliad and in Strabo's later geography. In addition to Homer and Plato, we have this quote from 2nd century Greek traveler Pausanias. "The following incident proves the might of fortune to be greater and more marvelous than is shown by the disasters and prosperity of cities. No long sail from Lemnos was once an island, Chryse, where it is said Philocrates met with his accident from the water snake, but the waves utterly overwhelmed it, and Chryse sank and disappeared in the depths. So temporary and utterly weak are the fortunes of men." And that's from Pausanias' Descriptions of Greece, chapter 8, verse 33. And now we're going to look at some maps. Okay, Costas talked about one of his favorite places on this is Lemnos Island. One of his favorite places is Plaka. This is the area that Plaka's in, and this says Plaka, that's the coast of Plaka. He says 800 meters from the coast, you'd sail in a boat, and you can find buildings, and you can see things under the water. Okay, you see all of these things. These are the sonar has noted these things that are under the water, these objects, whatever they are. Now this is Caros Bank right here, and I think that that's what the three witnesses, two of the witnesses said we're talking about what they saw here on Caros Bank, and so did Costas, the Lemnos guide. So it's all in this area right here. This area right here was probably the mountainous area of Atlantis. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, this is another map of the area. This is Lemnos Island. This is all of Lemnos Island. Plaka was right up here in this area. In red, this is all of the underwater buildings, roads, objects that have been seen by Costas, the tour guide, and by the two witnesses that I read from Wikipedia in 1960, 1969. Okay, this in this area here. Now notice this around the outside, which I've outlined in blue. This is 100 meters, the 100 meter mark, and this is a ridge line showing the edge of the mountain. Okay, so Lemnos sits on top of this mountain, as well as Tenedos and Imbros. They're all on top of this mountain. This area right in through here, this was where Atlantis was. Plato doesn't tell us how close it was to Lemnos, and he doesn't tell us how close it was to the shoreline. But we know that it was in this general area. And if you Plato talks about the metropolis of the island being flat, and if you look at the dimensions here, they're all fairly consistent in this green area. 76, 76, 71, 77. So it's fairly flat. So this looks like where the metropolis of Atlantis used to be, and this is probably the mountainous area that Plato talked about, which was higher than the flat area, and that's why you've got some of this stuff here in the highest part of the island that is very, very close to the surface, only 10 meters below the surface. Okay, and this is Tenedos, and this little rock here, it's got some kind of a Greek name, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but anyhow, this also you can see here, this is a part 50 meters. This is 50 meters. The outside of this line here is 50 meters. So this was 50 meters below, 50 meters below the surface, and the outside of Lemnos is 50 meters below the surface. So we're going to look at some of these other ridge lines and markings, and we're going to see some interesting unknown things that we're going to find under the water that sonar has hit. And I think that there's probably some other buildings, maybe even some gold statuary that's still under there, that's been lodged into the side of Tenedos. It's Tenedos. Okay, there used to be a bay at Troy right here. So what happened, we know that the tsunami carried the debris off the top of the island this direction over the wall that was here and filled up the Bay of Troy. So we would expect that the debris field flow in this direction would be along this wall around Tenedos and whatever this little rock formation is. All the little red markings here show a danger. They're telling all the boaters that this is dangerous, so stay away from it. Okay, this is map B, and we're looking at Lemnos Island. That's Lake Aliki. And here we have this area with the Caros Bank and all of these underwater objects that sonar has picked up. So it's all in this area right here that there's it's probably the mountainous area Plato said that there were wealthy people and that lived out in the mountainous areas, and so I'm sure that there's some pretty fancy homes that are under the water right here. Costas said that it was wonderful. He apparently he dove down and was swimming around looking at it. Okay, but anyhow, let me see what I wrote here. It says shows a focus on the Keros Bank area and the Lemnos Island labyrinth area south and west of large Lake Aliki. The sonar map shows obstacles underwater in the Keros Bank area. Many of these are the buildings videotaped by amateur photographer in 1960 and studied by Professor Mousopoulos in 1969. Depths are in meters. Okay, yeah, so this is 10 meters deep, 30, so it'd be 30 yards deep, roughly, on a football field, 30 yards. So, like he said, on a day that's calm, when the water on the surface is not moving around, you can see, probably like a magnifying glass, you can see the buildings on the bottom of the sea. And that, my friends, that is Atlantis Island. We're not talking about some common place. This is the place, the biggest mystery of all times, Atlantis Island. We're looking at its location. Okay, let's go to the next map. Okay, this is map C, and we can see the debris field again under. This is Keros Bank. This is Lemnos Island. So we can see the debris field. You can see even on top of Keros Bank there are other objects. And so, how come no one has ever gone down there? And it seems like between Turkey and Greece, they had a big war, the Trojan War, back in 1200 BC, and it doesn't seem like they trust each other. And I don't think you're allowed to really go out there and scavenger in the Aegean Sea. I don't know. I mean, I like I say, I had read about two guys that got arrested over there on the island taking pictures for a game. They were gamers, and they wound up going to jail for 6 months or something. So, personally, I haven't been there, and I don't intend to go there. But any we've got any Indiana Jones types around, and some people, maybe you can get some video tape going. Maybe motion picture companies can talk to the Turks and the Greeks and get something going. And let's get a movie going. Let's find out about this place. I mean, come on. Let's wake up. Okay, this is map D, as in dog. Focuses on the Tenedos Island area near Troy. We know Homer and Dr. John C. Kraft's Bay of Troy was filled in by the subsidence of the island. That would have been right in here. Therefore, we know the tsunami was flowing toward the bay, this way. On the sea side of that bay sits Tenedos, right here. That has underwater obstacles all around it, some marked with danger red. The underwater debris field to its north reveals depths from 48 to 20 to 8 meters. This area may contain some buildings or gold statuary washed off the island, off of Atlantis Island. So we're talking about this area right here. There's all kinds of debris. You can see it. It's a debris field. So, and all these red marks here around Tenedos signify danger. Be careful if you're boating. Don't go near this stuff. So the sonar has picked up all kinds of objects under the water and along the wall that separated the Aegean Sea from the Bay of Troy. So the tsunami washed stuff this way over the wall, and it actually covered up the Bay of Troy. I mean, it had to be dug out. So, anyhow, I'm suspicious that around here and around here, we're going to find some corroborating evidence that this wasn't the location of Atlantis Island. So I wish somebody would get get some pictures, get some videos, get some corroborating evidence, and let's prove that this was the location of Atlantis, and let's find out what's here. I mean, there's got to be some artifacts underneath that water. Okay, let's go to next map. Okay, this little rock right here is what the next picture is of. It's magnified. This is it. And you can see that all around this little rock, see all these red danger markings. So any boaters are warning boaters to be very careful not to run into these things. They're dangerous. And you can see the depths, the depth chart. It's very shallow. Was it 2.5 feet? 2 feet or 2 fathoms. Fathom is 6 foot. So 2 fathoms, that's 12 foot, and plus 6, 18 foot deep right here. So it's very shallow around this rock, and there's a lot of red danger objects that the sonar has picked up. So I think that there's a good chance that there may be some debris from the island that was left here, lodged, wedged into some rocks some places. Okay, next map. Okay, this is the rock again, magnified a little more, and you can see again all the debris field around it, things that were washed off the island and that are laying around this rock for somebody to find and verify that that's where Atlantis was located. Okay, next map. Okay, this is that same rock, and notice that there's there's 3 other little yellow, these things. The yellow represents part of rock that's above the water level. So there's another one here, here, and here, and then Tenedos is below it, down here. So we, it could be that these protrusions sticking above the water, they may have actually been on Atlantis Island and been broken off. These might be the last remnants of the island itself, and all these and around it, all these red markings. In the debris field, there could be some very interesting, valuable artifacts for us to find. Okay, next map. Okay, this is just kind of summarizing again. This is Tenedos Island. This is the one rock, the bigger one. And this down here will be the smaller ones. So this gives you kind of an overall view of what we're just looking at. Excuse me, and you can see all the red warnings for all of the debris field that's been left behind. Look at this, along that wall. So the tsunami washed the surface of the island over the wall and into the Bay of Troy and filled it up. Even covered up the Bay of Troy itself. Okay, so next map. Okay, this kind of gives us a wrap up of the whole area. Again, we can see that this is Lemnos Island. That's Lake Aliki. Plaka was up here. The debris field, Karos Bank is right here. This is the debris field. This was probably the mountainous area of Atlantis Island. It was higher than the other parts of the island, and this was probably the metropolis of Atlantis right here in this area. And over here in this area was probably where they had that they had a big harbor for all the ships to come in, and they were doing all their trading within the harbor, bartering goods. Okay, this is Tenedos, and then this is those rocks that we were looking at, several rocks. And again, you can see the red for the debris field that's along the wall and around Tenedos and around these rocks. So we don't know how close the Atlantis Island was to the shore. We don't know that. Plato didn't tell us, and we don't know how close it was to Lemnos. But we know it was right in this area here. And we know that this debris field here was part of Atlantis Island. There's buildings under the water. These guys think it was Chryse Island. Chryse Island is one of the names that the island was known as. That's what the Greeks called it, Chryse Island. Okay, and then this is the Dardanelles Straits, and the Bay of Troy used to be right here. So that gives you a pretty good idea of the island, where it was located, and what the potential is for the underwater debris field, potential artifacts that are there. And I mean, the story, it's a great story. All right, I want to show you this. This is the location of our other videos. This is video number 1, and this is the background information on the location of Atlantis Island. So you should watch this before all this, or watch them both. And I'm going to do one more. There's still other information that I haven't told you guys yet. This is the treasury on Lemnos Island. It has all kinds of pictures, photographs, before and after the takeover. Somebody has taken over the treasury, and so there's the differences. They've kind of they're harvesting some of the treasures that are there. I don't know who it is, but it's going on as we speak. Okay, the third one was on the Ark of the Covenant. There's a lot of scriptures that talk about who took it, where they took it. They took it to Lemnos Island. The information leads back to the Caviary. There's a Caviary temple or sanctuary where they worshipped. They had their own belief system, and they worshipped there. Anyhow, the last video is from Malachi 4:5. Talks about God is sending Elijah back to earth before the very end times, and we're being told we got 12 years left before this is all over and all wrapped up. Actually, the Bible only gives us till 2028. It's going to be done by 2028, according to the scriptures, and that's all. I laid out the scriptures here and explained all of that. So, and then this video will be below that one, and then we're going to do one more, and I've got other stuff to tell you guys. So, okay, friends. So that kind of wraps up video number 5 today. Thank you for watching episode number 5. Stay tuned for the next episode, because there's a lot of, I have been learning things that I've never heard anybody talk about. I mean, I've got some source material that nobody else really has been studying, and I guess I've got a wise man that's teaching me a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of his mouthpiece here. So thank you for subscribing to my channel. I hope you do. Click on the bell for notifications and alerts, and check the description box below for links to all my social media. Next time I'm going to do one more on the location of Atlantis. There's other information that I want to share with you guys. And then there's another one I'm going to do 2 more on Atlantis. And then there's the book of Revelation has a lot of information, and it's been all explained to me. I know the book of Revelation. It's very easy to understand when you understand it, and I can explain it to you. But once again, just like with Atlantis, with all of these people that have written all these books saying, "Oh, Atlantis is over here. No, it's over there. It's over here. Hey, I saw something under the water. It had to be over there." On and on and on. These guys have gone with their books on Atlantis, and so pretty soon nobody listens. They're yelling wolf, 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 wolf. Pretty soon, when somebody actually finds it, nobody wants to listen anymore. Well, that's the situation right now. So I hope that there are a few people out there that are open-minded and listen, and maybe follow up, get some information, Google some information online, find out about those witnesses. They're on Wikipedia. You can read it for yourself. In any event, the book of Revelation has a lot of information on the future, and there's been a lot of men that have said that they understand the book of Revelation and written about it, and believe me, they don't. I mean, I've seen a few that have some Revelation knowledge, but a lot of them don't. So anyhow, I'm going to try to share a lot of that information with you. For example, the two beasts of chapter 13 in the book of Revelation, I can tell you who those two are. I don't know if anyone, I've never even read about anybody talking about those two beasts, who they are. The Mystery Babylon the Great in chapters 16 and 17 and 18 of the book of Revelation, I can tell you who they are. And they are both of these beasts of chapter 13 and the 17 and 18 chapter Mystery Babylon the Great. These are enemies. These are enemies of the kingdom of God. And I can lay it out to you, scripture and verse, who they are, and it all fits together, just like all the information from Plato fit together with the information from Ezekiel, Tyrus and Atlantis. But anyhow, the two witnesses of chapter 11 in the book of Revelation, they very well, I think that they're living today. These two men are living today. These two men are famous. People know who they are. Some people love them, and some people hate them. And in the book of Revelation, chapter 11, toward the end of the chapter, it talks about how these two men are going to actually, just before the rapture, at the very end of this age, they're going to perish, and their bodies are going to be left in the streets, and a lot of people are going to be so happy. They're going to exchange gifts. They're going to leave their bodies in the streets for 3.5 days, and then the Spirit of God is going to raise them up in front of the people from all over the world. So apparently it's going to be on camera, on TV, and they're going to see these two men come back to life, and they're going to rise up off the earth. And shortly after that is going to be the actual rapture of the church, of the rest of us that believe in the scriptures. Anyhow, there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to share with you guys, and I'm pretty passionate about this stuff, so I'm going to start getting a little bit more and more heated up about it, because there's so many complacent people that just don't care, and then there's so many people that take advantage of these complacent people that say, "Hey, listen to me, I got the answers for you," and they don't. I don't really like to debate, because it's foolish. It's a waste of time. I mean, all these people that say that Atlantis is in South America or over in Alaska or whatever, what good does it do for me to sit and debate with those people? I just lay it out to you, the facts, where it actually was, and then we can just move on. But anyhow, so there's a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys, and so keep your eyes peeled on our website, and have a good week, and I'll see you again soon, okay? Thank you very much, and bye-bye.